Good morning. This is Art Ross and Justin Gerald,
What's up,
reporting
everybody?
live for the CTC podcast. Today's topic is transitioning from military service to a civilian student. What's your military experience, Justin?
I started off in the Marines back in 2001. I joined in July of '01, so September 11th happened while I was in boot camp at Weapons Battalion Chow Hall. So
That had to be fun.
yeah, that was so yeah. It was really interesting. They shut down the base, of course, and then they all brought us back to Squad Bay, and then they wheeled in one of those TVs, back like how you
High
had you with the
school.
strap,
Yeah.
around it. They wheeled in one of those, and then started showing us footage of what had happened, and anybody that was from that area was allowed. It's Paris Island. You're not allowed to make any phone calls or anything like that. But
Yeah.
all of those guys we had two or three that were from the Manhattan area that were allowed to call back and make sure that their family was good and all that stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely interesting. So and after that, I worked on. I started out my career, so to speak. I did 12 years from or about 11 and a half. So
That's
from
a long time.
2001 to 2012. So yeah, you know, if I wouldn't have missed the birth of my son on my fourth deployment in Afghanistan, then I probably would have kept on going. But it is what it is. But no, I enjoyed it a lot. So I started off as working on aviation equipment, and then got bored with that and decided that I really enjoyed crawling around on the dirt and shooting guns, and so I, switched over to the Army and tried to do the whole Green Beret thing. Had a knee injury at airborne school, so I went to 1st Cav Division, real popular unit in the Army. Became a sniper with them, and
Okay.
then left with a sniper team leader. Went to 1st Infantry Division, and then I was a squad leader with them, and that was deployed for my 4th time. So 2 deployments to Iraq, 2 deployments to Afghanistan. And,
Hey, thank you for your service.
Hey, thank you.
I know, right? Because I too am a Paris Island Marine.
Yeah. What battalion did you graduate from?
First division, second battalion.
Okay. So you're second battalion.
Yeah. So nothing like the story of the Sand, please.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I served for 4 years, from '92 to '96. I was a crypto repairman, which means I fixed computer with crypto gear. Computers designed to encrypt messages. Um, my opinion of the military is fairly decent. There were ups and downs, like you missed the birth of your son, which is a very important thing. But all in all, I came out a much better man than I was when I went in.
Sure.
Yeah, I joined right after high school, directionless, and the Marine Corps gave me discipline and focus to kind
Hmm.
of help further along my life. What are some of the most important takeaways that you learned?
Kind of same thing, man. I mean, I grew up basically without a dad. I had some stepdads and stuff like that, but no, nothing super stable. And so whenever I joined, that I was kind of showed how to really be a man and just be responsible and just I don't
Stand
know,
on your
just
own two feet.
yeah, exactly, and do it well and gracefully. And I definitely give the Marine Corps credit for all of that. You know what I mean? Because without discipline, you spend the whole first month there doing nothing but standing there, still as you
Yes,
can be.
trust
You
me.
know, it's
Boot camp in the Marine Corps is an adventure of itself.
it's definitely I like I said before, I switched branches. So, and I actually went whenever I did switch branches. Boot camp for in the Marines is 13 weeks,
Yeah,
and
pretty much,
so
basically.
in the Army does it a little differently. Everybody, no matter what your job is in the Marine Corps, you go to the same.
Boot camp,
Yeah.
yes.
So the Army does it differently. It's basically based on your job. So like all infantrymen go to the same place at Fort Benning,
Yes.
and then like if you're like commo or you or quartermaster or whatever it is that you do, other than that, you'll go somewhere else like Fort Jackson or some other basic training that you do. Um,
Did you have to redo boot camp?
so whenever I had just gotten back from Afghanistan when I decided to switch, and so it had been since before deployment, since I went to the rifle range, and
Oh,
so they sent me back to like halfway through basic training to just do that,
requalify.
requalify and do that. But it was interesting because since I was prior service, I didn't like live out there in the squad bay with the rest of the privates. I'd already been deployed, so I lived like where the drill sergeants lived.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So, and there was about 6 of us other prior service dudes that were changing our jobs to infantry or whatever. So,
Okay,
yeah.
and infantry is not really the thing that people volunteer for.
I loved it, man. I truly did. It was a blast, and just the amount of responsibility that you have as like a young team leader or squad leader. It, you're literally responsible for dudes' lives.
Absolutely.
And it's an incredible responsibility that you have. But when you're a kid and you're in the position, you don't really look at it that way.
I
You're just
know.
having a fun time, or you're either hating it or you're loving it. You know what I'm saying?
I was in the rear with the gear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And everybody's got their job.
Yes.
We can't do our job without everybody in the rear supporting us.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of MREs.
Yeah. Hey, man, neither was I. But you got to do what you got to do. I was
know.
much more of a fan of the local Iraqi food and local Afghani food. That was much better.
Yeah, I didn't deploy any when I was in. Not much was going on.
Right, yeah.
So I guess I got lucky in that regard.
Uh-huh.
But they still did not reduce the mental toughness I had to have to survive for those
Sure.
4 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So in the well, not the Marine Corps, but in particularly, but all military branches are now investigating race and sexuality relations. What
Mhm.
is your opinion on that, as far as gays and transgenders serving in the military?
I don't. I have never really cared about any of that stuff, anyways. But
Neither have I.
yeah, and in an infantry unit, you're so tight with. I mean, you live with your
Them
squad. You
live,
live,
yeah.
day in day out. You spend way more time with them than you do with your own family,
Yes.
and so it truly doesn't matter. What matters to me is what you bring to the table. I don't care what you do in your off time. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you're from. If you can bring value to my squad or my team, then I want you on my team, regardless.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
When you're in the field, you are definitely relying on the man next to you.
For sure.
Yeah, and there's an old saying that we all bleed green, Marine Corps green, and I feel once you commit yourself and graduate boot camp, because that is a feat in and of itself, regardless of your sexual preference, you still have a place in the service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't get where a lot of people are coming up with all this flack. I think Donald Trump, early on in his presidency, said he was going to remove all transgenders from the military service. But I don't think he went through on that promise, did he?
To be honest, I anytime I like find myself falling back into like following what's going on politically,
It,
I end up starting to just my mood goes sour and then I have to like back away. So honestly, I really don't know. To be honest.
yes. I heard that initially when he first got in office, but I didn't follow it myself.
I heard that as well, but I don't know if he actually went through it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a sensitive area, the transgender thing. I don't care about gays at all being in at all. The transgender, I don't really care about transgenders either being in. It's just, it seems to me that I think the military is just having trouble figuring out like if there's any underlying issues going on instead, because people don't realize this, but it's not like getting into the military is hard. Like the MEPS process,
Yes.
going through all that stuff. It's for you guys, the military entrance processing station, MEPS. It's this huge thing. You have these like 70-year-old guys like telling you to bend over and like look at your butthole, and they're
Yeah,
like
all
looking.
kinds of stuff.
They're looking for ways to qualify you. You can be absolutely a healthy human person, and they will try to find reasons to disqualify you.
Yeah.
So I think people just lose their minds over it just because it's a sensitive time that we're in these
Yes.
days. But it's always been so discriminate because they want the most healthy and fit people.
Candidates,
Yeah, and I see no problem with that.
Yeah, if you can duck walk, you can join.
Yeah, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you bringing back some pretty horrible but good memories for me.
Right, yeah, we all forget about MEPS, right?
I
Until
can't
somebody
forget about
says it, and it's like,
I know. And it was a little bit scary, not necessarily scary, but a little bit intimidating when you start to swear in, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I am really committing myself. I'm
Yeah.
really about to do this. And
Yeah.
I was probably, I graduated, but I went to MEPS my senior year while I was still in school,
Mhm.
in preparation for when I graduate, then go. But the recruiter did a number on me. I actually went in open contract.
Oh, wow, that's brave.
I know,
Yeah.
but I scored so high on the ASVAB that I got a comm job,
Okay.
communication
Yeah.
job. So that worked out in my favor.
There you go.
So being in school, how is that relatable to your service life?
It's I don't. I'm sure there's some relations, but man, my job is so far different. The only thing that's even remotely similar is being a sniper slash spotter in the military and working a camera. You you learn a little bit about glass and focus and
Yeah.
things like that. So and like how to shoot. What you want to frame and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I mean. And you definitely learn how to work hard, and the industry that we're both in, there's some crazy hours. There's who knows what you're going to be doing, and it's the same way in the military. It's who knows what your day is going to bring,
Absolutely.
and so it's day in day out. It's different, and that's what I'm enjoying about it. And so, yeah,
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I like the teamwork attitude we have here in class. We work on projects together, and it kind of reminds me of working on stuff.
that camaraderie.
Yeah,
Right.
all of
Mhm.
that. The discipline always helps for me to sit down and do my work, focus on getting the job done, because that was the main focus of the service.
Right.
Get the job done.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so I do rely on the discipline that I learn and my teamwork attitude. So you're here. I'm here on Voc Rehab, which is vocational rehabilitation services for service members. But you're here under the GI Bill, correct?
That's right. The post 9/11 GI Bill.
Okay. And how is that working out for you? How difficult was it for you to start that paperwork and get the process rolling?
It's funny. You hear rumors about how difficult the process is about going to school with using the VA or the GI Bill or whatever. And I found the exact opposite to be true. It was so simple for me to start school. All I did was, I had to take the placement thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, I applied, and then I went to the what is it, the certifying official at the school.
Okay.
Gave him my DD 214, and that was it. And then they did everything else. And the next thing I know, I'm registering for classes, and then I'm getting paid BAH, and and it's like, this was super easy.
I had a different
Oh
experience.
man, that's terrible.
Well, Voc Rehab is a little bit different from the GI Bill. You can only get Voc Rehab at a 100% disability. So it took me about a year and a half to get my disability approved. And then I had to go through, because I suffer from PTSD, I had to go through this entire program where I had to work at this warehouse for people with disabilities, which kind of threw me off because there was a lot of people like with physical disabilities, and mine is mostly mental. So
Sure.
it took me about a year and a half, 2 years to get everything straight for me to get to school.
Oh wow.
Yes, but the Marine Corps motto: "Hurry up and wait."
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Hurry up and wait.
Man, that's just not in the Marines. I think that's military wide. Man, that's
I
just
know, right?
golly. It's like rush,
Yeah.
rush, rush. It's like we're drawing weapons at 9 from the armory. Be here at 3. Like, what
I
are we
know,
gonna be
right?
doing for 6 hours?
I know,
It's-
right? All right, so the civilian assistants, you get additional monies to go to school for living expenses.
That's mhm.
Yeah, so do I. $600 a month for me to go to school, and school is paid for, is a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Because I'm single with no children, that's why it's only $600. But
Sure.
you might be receiving more.
Yeah, so the way that the post 9/11 GI Bill works is they as long as you are taking at least one resident class, like you have to go to the campus to take the class. As long as you're taking one and you have a full load, they'll pay you full BAH, which I believe they're paying. I think it's based off of your zip code and what an E5 BAH would be in the military.
And
So
also dependents, right?
and I think I don't know if dependents are included in the GI Bill BAH or not. But so with 4 classes, I receive it's like just over 2,000 a month. So
That's pretty good.
yeah, it's super awesome. It's like 24 grand a year to go to school.
To go to school.
Yeah, instead
and
of paying
school is
that.
paid for.
Yeah, instead of paying that much per year, I'm receiving that much per year.
I know, right? And that's some of the beauty as far as, well, once you go through all the drama and, well, the next topic will be the family life during the transitions, PTSD and veteran suicide and stuff of that nature. But if you can get over those major obstacles, like once you get out and kind of keep your sanity, things can work out in your favor, like they're working out in both of our favors.
That's right.
Um, so, like I said, I have a history of PTSD, and I'm receiving treatment and medication for it. But I did get a handicapped driver's license and tag, so I can park in handicap.
There you go.
Even though I don't do it, I can
Yeah.
I can still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all in all, my experience for those 4 years helped me to this day. I can say.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be who I am today without it. And you mentioned PTSD. I'm as well 100% disabled for PTSD. And I don't really tell too many people that just because of the stigma that comes with
yeah.
it, you know.
I'm fairly open because you find out, I've been to therapy so many times, and you find out when you're sharing, other people are going through the same thing. The same way that we found out we're both in the Marine Corps,
Right.
and we both have the same ailments or what have you.
Right.
When you share, other people open up,
Mhm.
and you can find a common ground and relatability,
Right.
even though some of them may be civilians, but PTSD is not a military thing.
Right.
You
right.
can,
People get it from car wrecks,
yeah, all
rape, all
types
kinds
of
of
stuff.
things. I mean,
All types of
anything. So yeah, yeah. So and it's crazy because I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that I would be a 100% disabled person under 40. You know, who loved what I did. It just I had no idea that like the effects that you know it would have on me that would last. So you know, you mentioned you know family life. It took a huge toll. I mean, we still have our issues. You know, we every day. Basically, my entire life has become a coping mechanism. One coping mechanism after another. You know, I've got to do PT. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to hike. I've got to get in nature. I've got to stay busy. I've got to do all these things.
And you still got your Marine Corps haircut.
Yeah, it's funny. They messed this thing up. I did not want a high and tight.
You got one.
I know they did. So thanks, Mr. Barber. But no, I mean, so you know, after I got out, I went through a divorce, and you know, I'm remarried now, and we have a beautiful baby boy who just turned 1. You know, and my oldest son lives with us. So I mean, it's everything's on the up and up. You know what I'm saying? But man, you have to be relentless for it. Otherwise, because veteran suicide, you know, it's a good segue. You have to be relentless because every week, you know, when you're in for for 12, any amount of time, you have a vast friendship who it lives all over the world, and you keep. At least I do. I keep up with the majority of the people that I was at least close with in my squad or teams or whatever, you know. And we still meet up from time to time and all kinds of stuff. And so, because of this vast network, I hear at least weekly somebody killing themselves.
Yes.
And whether they're active duty, I had a friend who is and it doesn't even matter what rank you are. A lot of people think it's like, oh, it's just like the low guys who maybe saw some shit, right? No. But it's not even that. Because I had, just 2 years ago, my old, when you're a sniper, you don't report to a platoon leader or a platoon sergeant or anything like that. You report directly to the G3 guy or the S3 guy who's over, he's a major, who's over the plans of all of the battlefield operations. So that's your direct line supervisor as a sniper. And so after that deployment, he came home. He got promoted to lieutenant colonel, became a battalion commander, and killed himself.
Oh,
So a
wow.
battalion commander, a leader of 800 men, and that, if that doesn't have ripple effects, I mean, nothing
Yes,
will. You know
I
what I'm
know,
saying?
right?
I mean, these people, all ranks, looked up to this guy, and he was a great leader, Colonel Posnick. He was a great leader, and just 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine was laid to rest in his hometown. He was stationed in Ohio. He was a chief warrant officer. So it doesn't even. I was with him in Iraq, back in the day. But it doesn't matter like what rank or what it is. It just seems to affect like so many people. And I have no idea what to do about it.
Yeah,
It's like exhausting.
it's a big problem.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to be addressed more proactively. Suicide is the worst thing that can occur, but there are stages. I don't know if these people have experienced homelessness, but there are
Sure.
a lot of homeless veterans that
Mhm.
are barely holding on. I see them all the time at the VA. Some of them
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
get their benefits. They might have got a big chicken dinner or something. Well, that's a bad conduct discharge, but
Yeah.
they still serve.
Yeah.
And once you mess up, you're kind of out the door on
Mhm.
all benefits,
Right.
which is kind of sad because
Yeah.
one mistake can ruin your career and ruin the rest of your life.
Yeah, and fortunately in today's like if it's not a lot of times you can appeal if it's because
Egregious or something.
yeah, and like I have some friends that they were affected from their first and only deployment, but 2011 Afghanistan was the most violent deployment I was ever on. It was far more violent than all three of my other ones combined. I mean, it
Oh,
was.
wow.
I mean, I mean, people say all the time, like, "Oh, we took contact all the time," but we took contact all the time, and it was like just day in, day out. It was just relentless, and it was crazy. I mean, we fired rockets daily. We fired. I mean, I carried C4 and used it all the
Oh,
time.
wow.
I mean, all kinds of stuff, and it was just super intense. And so guys came back and they were pretty messed up, drinking all the time, drinking and driving, DUIs. I picked up several buddies from jail, and the military kicks you out. They turn, they try to do. You got to go to a drinking program, but it doesn't do anything. It's a check in the box, and it doesn't really help them out. It's for the command to say, well, we sent them there,
Yeah.
well, I don't know what else, and so then they kick them out, and then you're right. It's a mistake. They're having issues. They didn't get the help they needed, So if that's an issue, I know that the person I'm personally speaking of, they were able to get that appealed and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
So
good for them.
yeah, so I know that certain cases that you can make some progress, but if you were that like turd, and you probably don't deserve that shit anyways, right? You know what I mean?
I know, right? Big chicken dinner for you.
Right.
Yeah, so it's been great. I hope you guys learned a lot from two Marine Corps veterans here at Chattahoochee Technical College. And once again, I'm Art Ross.
I'm Justin Jarrell.
Hey, and we're going to give you guys a big hoorah.
Yeah.